On February 13, 2022, in New York, 35-year-old Christina Yuna Lee was returning to her apartment in the city's Chinatown neighborhood at around 4:20 a.m. when someone started following her home. Christina was a Korean American that graduated from Rutgers University. She was a senior creative producer at the online music platform, Splice, and lived in an apartment on Christie Street. She was a hard worker and always had a good attitude. She was also a creative, kind and joyful person. She had a good nature and was considerate. She was a truly good daughter who always treated her family, friends, and people around her with a smile and kindness. Christina was returning from a club when she was followed by Asamad Nash, a 27-year-old homeless person. Security tapes show Asamad creeping into the apartment building behind Christina, who didn't notice her stalker had slipped in before the front door had closed behind her. Asamad kept his distance as she climbed the 6 flights to her apartment, staying 1 floor below her as she went. As Christina was unlocking her front door, Asamad rushed towards her and pushed her into the apartment, and he then attempted to assault her. Neighbors were awakened to Christina's blood-curdling screams of, "Please, help me. Call 911, and one of them immediately called the police. Officers responded within minutes, but Asamad had barricaded himself inside the apartment and tried to get them to leave. The officers could not enter the apartment right away. Asamad was heard telling officers, "I am alone in the apartment. We are okay. No one is bleeding. We don't need help. Go away. We don't need the police, I am fine." He then attempted to flee through a fire escape but went back inside after seeing a police officer on the roof above him. When officers finally broke down the door about 1 hour and 20 minutes after arriving to Christina's apartment, they found her partially naked body with 40 wounds to her torso, head, and neck inside the bathtub. Asamad was discovered hiding under a mattress inside the apartment. A blood-stained, yellow-handed knife from Christina's kitchen set was found stashed behind a dresser. Christina was pronounced deceased at the scene. Asamad was arrested on charges of slaying and burglary. According to Assistant District Attorney Daphne Yorna, as the defendant tried to rip off Christina's clothes, she managed to grab a knife from her kitchen block and slash the defendant in the shoulder and torso. She ran into her bathroom to get away from him. He followed her and butchered her, stabbing and cutting her over 40 times. Though it has not been classified as a hate crime, advocates in New York and New Jersey are calling for action against the spate of violence against Asian Americans. More than 300 people filled the church at the private remembrance of Christina. The Mass, conducted in Korean, drew many from the tight-knit Korean American community in North Jersey. The service was deeply emotional, with tears flowing as her casket was carried out of the church. Under bright, sunny skies, friends and family cried and held each other tight as they remembered Christina. 2 months since the brutal attack, family and friends are finding new ways to pay tribute to her life. The latest comes in the form of an exhibition at Manhattan's Eli Klein Gallery, where Christina once worked a decade ago, opened in her honor. It features the work of 9 Asian American and Pacific Islander artists and includes an original piece by Christina herself. A portion of the proceeds will go to the Christina Yuna Lee Memorial Fund, which supports causes important to her. The contemporary art gallery founder, Eli Klein, who worked with Christina from 2010 to 2014 said, "Art was a big part of her life, and I wanted to memorialize her legacy as much as possible. She's someone that deserves to be remembered in a larger context than this single tragedy." Asamad appeared in court on June 18, 2024 wearing an orange jumpsuit with a surgical mask while his hands were restrained. He pleaded guilty to both charges in connection with taking the life of Christina Yuna Lee. He was sentenced to 30 years to life in state prison on second-degree charges. He also pleaded guilty on first-degree burglary as part of a plea deal with the DA's office. He admitted to stalking the 35-year-old woman before he followed her into her Chinatown apartment. Asamad said nothing when the sentence was handed down. After the sentencing, the judge noted the defendant is a danger to society and has serious mental health issues. The judge acknowledged that he was mentally ill and imposed the maximum sentence, saying, "There are no medications available that can protect society." During the sentencing, the victim's father, Sung-Kan Lee, tearfully asked during his impact statement, "Why did God do such terrible things to our family?" Christina's mother was not in attendance at the sentencing. Christina's aunt, Bok-sun Lee, said that her mother is still struggling from the suffering of the loss of her daughter. After the sentencing, Sung-Kan urged lawmakers to name a new homeless shelter in her honor. He said, "We want Christina's memory to be remembered and to prevent others having a similar fate." The family's attorney, Charles Yun, said, "By having her name on the shelter, it will reinforce to people what happened and that it was perpetrated by someone who was homeless. We want to honor her and memorialize her so that it doesn't happen again." Christina's father also spoke against the NYPD and accused the agency of failing to save his daughter because they did not enter her apartment immediately but only until 1 hour and 20 minutes had passed since arriving at the scene. He said, "The first mission of NYC and its police is to protect the safety of its citizens." They believe that there was an inadequate response by the police who arrived. In May 2024, Christina's father has filed a still-pending lawsuit against the department claiming delays in police assistance and medical care ultimately led to her demise. Although the Lee family is pursuing a lawsuit against New York City, the family does not really want compensation. Instead, they want Christina's memory to be remembered and to prevent others from having a similar fate. New York City's law department previously said it was reviewing the complaint. The NYPD declined to comment on the matter. The NYPD also declined to comment on whether Christina's race or ethnicity played a role in the attack, or whether the NYPD's Hate Crimes Task Force is involved in the investigation. But the demise of Christina, an Asian woman, in Chinatown has raised fears in New York and across the country, where anti-Asian violence has been on the rise in recent years. District Attorney Alvin Bragg Jr. said in a statement, "Christina Yuna Lee was slain in an unthinkably horrific manner in her own apartment at the hands of Asamad Nash. Her demise not only devastated her family but left a lasting impact on an entire community." Bragg continued, "I hope the resolution of this case offers comfort and a sense of justice for everyone that has been touched by Ms. Yuna Lee's life and this tragedy. May her legacy be celebrated for years to come." A memorial fund, the Christina Yuna Lee Memorial Fund, that was created in honor of her, has raised about $350,000 for charity in the first week.